Why is it that they can't just write the decision and just promulgate it? Because as far as I'm concerned, sometimes a wrong decision, which can be appealed, is better than a delayed position. I look at the PCGG, for example. Up to now, 26 years after we were created, we still have 276 cases pending in our courts, a good majority of which were filed in 1986 and 1987. So really, I think that our judges and justices should adopt a mentality of getting the job done. Also, the Supreme Court should lead by example by being more transparent and accountable in the way that they do things. I know there is an issue with respect to the JDF. I think that people need to know this is public money, that they have to be more forthright in respect as to how these monies are being distributed. In any private sector entity, the management is judged by key result areas. Okay? That before the start of the year, you have to have your planning session, you have to come up with objectives, you have to come up with goals of what you intend to do for the year. I query, does the Supreme Court do this? Okay? Are they planning out how many cases are they going to dispose of? Are they being transparent in that respect? And finally, after all is said and done, people always say that the way to get reforms implemented is to show political will. Insofar as the Supreme Court is concerned, I challenge them to show judicial will and finally, look or come up with a solution that will be able to meet the challenges being faced by our judicial system. Another proposed solution is with respect to managing caseloads. Here you have to distinguish between the disposition rate and the clearance rate. The disposition rate is defined as the outflow over the inflow. Basically, in any given year, there is an outflow. How many of that cases that come in is the court able to dispose of? If you look at the figures of our courts, they're at about the 80 to 90% level, which is good. Okay. The problem, though, is the clearance rate. Again, because of the cases that have been filed since time immemorial, there is that backlog. And that backlog continues to grow over time. And that was the figures that I shared with you earlier. But right now, if you look at the number of cases that are being decided versus the number of cases that are in the backlog, again, overall, our judicial system has a less than 50% clearance rate. To manage caseloads, definitely we should use technology. Again, technology is a big blessing that they can capitalize on. For example, there is that CMS, the case management system that has been pioneered in the Court of Appeals. I think that is a step in the right direction. It is also being pilot tested now in the Quezon City courts. We should also amend the rules of court. As we know, the main reason also why these cases are delayed are because of the dilatory tactics being employed by counsel. So we have to take a look at Rules 45, Rules 41, 58, 65. That certiorari has been already abused. And we all know that. That, any little incident, immediately will be brought to the Court of Appeals, the Supreme Court on certiorari, and that just delays cases. Also with respect to motions, motion to inhibit, whenever a party doesn't like the decision of the judge, immediately there is already a motion to inhibit being filed. Also the motion for postponement and motion for extension. Again, these are motions that should be sparingly used. And the Supreme Court should come up with rules that would really discourage parties from using them. When you think about it, it can be as simple as there is an inflow of cases, there is an outflow. Simplistically thinking, all you have to do is you have to reduce the inflow and you have to increase the outflow. That's how you solve the backlog. So how are we supposed to reduce the inflow? Well, I think that There are the ADR, alternative dispute resolution mechanisms that are being instituted. There is the court annex mediation, judicial dispute resolution. If you look at the figures, they look promising, and they should continue to be encouraged. But again, I think they're not sufficient. I think they have to come up with more ways by which they can reduce, people or disincentivize parties from going to court. Second, you have to increase the outflow. And how do you do that? Again, just like in the private sector, you have to incentivize the performance. You have quotas in the beginning of the year. For those who are able to meet their quota, then they should be rewarded. And when I say quota though, I mean from both a perspective of quality decisions and also in terms of quantity. So these judges, these justices should be rewarded for good performance. Also, you should discourage the laggards, the non-performers. I've never been a big fan of security of tenure. I think that people should be made accountable for their actions, and that if you are a member of the judiciary, I don't see why you have to occupy your office until you're age 70. I think that if you are a non-performer, then perhaps people should, there should be that option wherein you can be asked to leave the court. And finally, they should shorten and simplify decisions. I don't again see why we have to come up with 300-page decisions when basically these are just cut and paste from previous decisions. There should be a limit insofar as these decisions are concerned. There should be also a limit in terms of the pleadings being filed in the various courts. Shorten, also simplify. These decisions should not be written in such a way that only us lawyers can understand them. They should be written so that the parties, who are the ones who are really interested in the decision anyway, are given the opportunity to really get to know what the basis of the decision is. Article 8, Sections 15(1) and 2 provide as follows. All cases or matters filed after the effectivity of this Constitution must be decided or resolved within 24 months from the date of submission for the Supreme Court, and unless reduced by the Supreme Court, 12 months for all lower collegiate courts and 3 months for all other lower courts. A case or matter shall be deemed submitted for decision or resolution upon the filing of the last pleading, brief, or memorandum required by the rules of court or by the court itself. Again, I query, how many of the courts are actually following this constitutional mandate? As I said, insofar as the PCGG is concerned, we have over 200 cases which have been pending for more than 20 years. One of the culprits, if you look at this Article 8, Section 15, is that the period of counting starts from the date of submission. And when is it submitted? When the last decision when the filing of the last pleading, brief, or memorandum required by the rules has been done. Again, as practitioners, we all know that sometimes it takes 20, 25 years to file that last pleading. So to me, a quick fix is very simple. Change the word from the date of submission to the date of filing. In which case, again, judges and justices will be forced to come up with a decision. And just as a final thought, again, after all is said and done, reform is painful. And for reform to be truly successful, you need to get stakeholder buy-in. And here, insofar as our justice system is concerned, you need the buy-in not only of the judges, not only of the parties litigants, not only of the lawyers, but also of the public. That you have to come up with solutions that are transparent, that are fair, that are explained, and let the people buy in so that it can be a collective endeavor among the various stakeholders. The other thing I wanted to say by way of a closing thought was, yes, there is a lot of attention right now in the choosing of the next Chief Justice. and rightfully so. But after all is said and done, I don't think one person will be able to tackle this humongous problem. What you need is a group of persons, some sort of like a justice league, or a group of legal avengers that you can put together that can really help solve the problems of our justice system. Thank you for your attention.
May we request the President to kindly hand this plaque of appreciation, the contents of which is the same as that which I have earlier read for the first speaker. Mr. President, please.